Welcome back to my channel, fellow gardeners. Today I want to talk about the Iron Cross Begonia. We've done so many begonias in the past, and I have a sample of it. We have the tiger paw here, which we actually propagated, divided it, and made a lot of babies. And then we actually did this painted begonia, which a few months ago, and this is one of the babies. Now, with this Iron Cross plant, I'm going to show you how to propagate it because it has exactly the same rhythm as these begonias. So I want to replicate this begonia because it is so pretty. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice and I'm the Red Soil Gardener. Now, this is an Iron Cross Begonia, and the beautiful thing about it is actually the foliage. And okay, the season is over for flowering, but it had these beautiful, delicate pink and cream leaves, and they did last for a long time. But now the season is over, so maybe I should just snip these out because they're no longer needed. So I'm just going to remove those flowers. And then we look at the plant properly. Now, the thing about it, why they call it the Iron Cross, they say that basically when you do look at the leaf, it does actually resemble a cross. And this is like what the Crusaders, on their shield, they actually had this cross, and that's why they call it the Iron Cross Begonia. Now, the thing about it, what I find very fascinating, is the feel of the leaves. I was actually thinking it's actually quite reptilian because I have never really seen a begonia that actually has texture like this. But the thing about this plant, like all begonias, they are low maintenance, they are perennial, and the thing about it is they're a great house plant because they're not cold hardy in terms that you can actually have them constantly outside and then the winter comes in. Now, when I look at this plant, what happens is I had actually got it a few months ago, but what I noticed is some of the leaves are actually crisp and crinkly, which I should actually remove. So I'm going to take that one out because I think it's been eaten by slugs, and I see some old leaves there. And also because I had actually got it thinking about propagation, so what I did is I just didn't touch the plant or clean it because I thought to myself we could do it together and we learn about the plant. What is the condition of the light? Basically, begonias do like shade or partial sun, but basically is any direct light that does hit its leaves, because the leaves are so delicate, it will scorch your leaf and you will get this crunching of the leaf and the leaf will die. What would you do if you do have your begonias indoor? I would actually go for nice bright indirect sun or get filtered light, but don't move it too close to the window again because we're scared to scorch the leaves. So what sort of soil requirement would you go with a begonia? Now, with my begonias, all I do is I have, again, light, airy, sandy, slightly sandy, but basically really good, well-draining soil. So let's look at the water requirement. Is basically with begonias, they do like their soil moist, but also just be really careful because what happens is it does have a rhizome, which I will show you, and rhizomes don't want water to sit too close to the roots for a long time because you will get root rot because they are quite delicate. Now, basically, if you get all those conditions like light, soil, and watering, which actually, going back to water, I would do a finger test before you go and swamp your water again onto the soil. So basically, if you do get those three conditions good, you're good to go. So now let's just look at this plant. Now, if I look at this plant, is basically some of these leaves, as we've seen here at the top, are actually a lighter shade of green. However, if you look below, this is where you could actually see your Iron Cross, the cross, much better, because the foliage is a bit darker. So when you do want to let that design come out like this, do keep it where it does get a little bit of light, as we said, in partial light, although slightly shaded. But do actually, don't let it get, as I've done, allowed all this to actually overshadow the little foliage that is coming up, because as the leaves get bigger and do get too exposed to the light, they do turn a lighter shade. As we've seen with these other begonias, what is the best way to actually propagate this plant? Now, there are several methods, and we've done it with these begonias, and we will put the link below. Now, basically, you can go for a stem water propagation, and basically all you do is you go into your plant and just snip a stem. So that is my stem. And so what you simply do with this stem is you put it in water, just like that. And what I would do is, once you put it in water, I would put it in indirect sun and keep it away from the sunlight. And I would change that water at least every let's say every 3-4 days, because sometimes what happens is that you do get some dead material going in there, and you can get bacteria and all this sort of thing. So constantly do change the water. Also, it's good because you provide the plant, the leaf, with oxygen, fresh oxygen. So that is one method. Another method you can do is simply take your begonia leaf again, as I'm going to take a snip from here again, just cut it like that, and have your stem, and then just simply take your container, and I'm going to pour a bit of water. So you'll need a bit of moist soil, and let it drain through. And I would just simply, once I've done that, I would just simply put my stem like that in the soil, and you will get a propagation. Now, the other thing about these plants is that they don't like water on their leaves, because basically is that once it does get water on the leaf basically is finished. So what I try to do is make sure that my leaf doesn't really touch the soil when it's wet. But that's just simply another propagation. Now, what I'd like to show you, let me just move this, is here I did a leaf exactly like that. And this has taken me maybe about 2 months. But basically, once I did do a leaf propagation similar to this one, what I do is it started rooting, and I have my little baby leaves happening. So basically, you can do a water propagation with the stem. You could do a soil propagation with the stem. And all these techniques do work. And also they do work for these other 2 begonias. And we've done that before. Now, what I'm actually interested in doing is actually through division. I find that when I work with division, it works much faster, and also you get to see what the roots are all about, and it does give you a bit more knowledge about what is happening under the soil. So I'm just going to put that there. So I'm going to tip this over, just like this. Then we'll look and see what to propagate. I'm going to get rid of that soil. Throw that one out. Got a nice thick rooting in there. Ooh, got lots of rhizins. So now, looking at this rooting, we can decide what we want to actually propagate, because there is quite a few separate plants that you can actually do. So I'm going to put this one aside. And then if you look in here, that's one rhizin. And all I simply will do with, okay, here's one rhizin. I'm going to have to cut it. There. And it's got a baby here. We may separate that baby. And then if we look in here, there is another rhizin here, which I may just snip off, just like that. So we can propagate that one. And then let me remove this leaf because it's curled. And here we go. So in this plant, what we've done, we've actually split it. So we have one here. We have a rhizin here, which I can actually just snip this one, just like that. And just remove some of that foliage. There we go. So we could also plant that one. And then we have this one where it's got a side shoot. And I might just actually divide this and just simply cut here, there. So what we have here is we have 1, 2, I'm going to remove some of that down here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little baby rhizin, 7. So what I'm going to do, I have three pots here, small little containers, and I'm going to pot some of them now, and some others I will pot later. But simply what I'm going to do is make sure that your rhizins are submerged. Now rhizins, as we actually mentioned before in many of the other episodes, these are actually stems that actually grow under the ground, and then they do have nodes, and this is the reason when you're propagating is out of every node that you do find underground, you will find that that's where the rooting happens. So with rhizins, I love working with them because they're actually quite mysterious, but they will produce babies. So what I'm going to do here is, let's take this one here, and I'm going to just simply put it in here. The soil is moist, and I'm going to just tuck it in here, just like that, in the soil. Okay, I'm going to put this one on this side, just like that, just like that. And of course, as we know, is to make sure that you do leave a leaf, but I'm going to just remove this one, just down here, because we already have a leaf. Now, the thing about rhizins also is that they do tend to move horizontally, and then at the nodes you get your leaves popping up. But then, as we've seen when we did do the propagation and repotting of this tiger, is if it does get too cramped, it will start going downwards, but this is good to go. So I have one plant here, and I'm going to go in here and plant this one here, and I might just remove that one. I'm going to put this one here, just like that. that's the second one. And I might even just throw that rhizome in here and see if it will take off. Submerge it, just like that. So that's the second one. So last one, I'm going to tuck it in, just like that, in here. Make sure it's submerged. There we go. And again, this one. I'm going to remove this leaf. I'm going to remove that one and leave it like that. And then I will put it on the side, just like that. And I'm going to cover it. A simple propagation of the Iron Cross Begonia. And what we will do here is I will just stick these in here. And this one in here. Like that. So we're not actually wasting our lovely leaves. Here we go. Stick this one. Just make sure that your leaf is submerged, your stem is submerged. So, fellow gardeners, so here we have all our little begonias that are going to take place, they're going to happen. We have here a stem propagation in soil, stem propagation in water, and here we have a soil propagation of the stem that is already actually producing its own leaf. So fellow gardeners, so do follow, also do follow the propagation of our painted, our tiger paw begonias. We'll put the links down below. But propagation of begonias is very simple. Just make sure that you do keep this in indirect sun in a warm place, and just make sure you get the soil is moist, but be really careful that you don't kill the rhizome by overwatering. So thank you. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the notification button. We are on Instagram. I do post a lot on Instagram, and do send me your comments, and I'm always there to answer. I'm also there to answer for the YouTube channel. People do send me comments. I do try to answer all of them. And do introduce us to all your friends and family. Summer is coming up in Europe, and there is a lot of tips on my channel. So do actually introduce your friends, family, and happy gardening, and do enjoy the sunlight and do garden a lot. Bye.